welcome to this new video for my channel, The Mental Traveler. I'm Carolina, and today I'm going to be talking about a story called Dracula. I shall be reviewing the book and two of its film adaptations. The novel was written by Irish author Bram Stoker and published in 1897. It is a gothic horror story that can also be classified as invasion literature, which in this case means that a monster is threatening the lives of those in England by moving into that country. There are many adaptations of Dracula, but my favorite one, for reasons I shall be mentioning shortly, is the 1992 version directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It stars Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, Richard E. Grant, Carrie Ells, Billy Campbell, Sadie Frost, and Monica Bellucci. Before I begin though, let me just say that this will be a spoiler-free video, so sit back and enjoy. Set in the 1890s, the story begins in Transylvania with Jonathan Hawker, a solicitor from London, traveling to the distant castle of Count Dracula, who is a client of his firm who wishes to buy property in England. When Hawker gets to the castle, though, it doesn't take him long to realize he's come to a very strange place, where everything is really weird, including his host. After some events, the Count arrives in England, which prompts a series of unfortunate events to take place. Events that link back to Jonathan, seeing as they involve his betrothed, Mina Murray. Along the way, we meet memorable characters, among them Dr. Abraham Van Helsing, who is equipped with the knowledge of how to defeat vampires. Here rallies around him a group of loyal men, and together they mean to fight a very powerful undead. I give the book a 5 out of 5 stars review, and the movie a 4 out of 5 stars review. I really enjoyed my last reread of the novel. I found it to be an easy read, and it's such a great plot that it can't fail but capture my attention. Though I know how it ends very well, I still found myself getting scared at some bits. And while I usually don't like books that are written in the format of letters or journal entries, I've never minded that with Dracula. Maybe because our writing style is really easy to understand, but also because the way it's constructed, it almost feels like a detective story. And it's really cool to try and piece all the clues together. As to the movie, it's not perfect, but I really like it. The cinematography, the music, and the costumes are really cool. I could criticize though that although I love Winona Ryder's acting during the 90s, I actually didn't like her portrayal of Mina Harker. It felt a bit odd at times. I'm not sure if it was because of her attempts of a British accent, but I was distracted by her overreacting some scenes at bits. I even felt that Anthony Hopkins, acting legend that he is, was a bit over the top with his portrayal of Van Helsing, but these are just minor things. In the end, his acting is really funny, and that's maybe the way he wanted to take it, so. And as far as adaptations go, it's not 100% a faithful one, but there is one major change from that book that I prefer over the original story, and that is the fact that they give Dracula a love interest. I like this not only because it makes the plot more romantic, but because it adds layers to his character. Rather than just seeing the Count as this monster, we actually get a tragic anti-hero whom I could empathize with and should almost cheer for him at certain bits. Loving someone makes this villain more human and thus more relatable. Some other things though that I would like to mention about Dracula is, for example, the inspiration behind the character. Historically speaking, some believe that he is modeled after Vlad Tepes, who used to impale his enemies when he defeated them. Coppola's version sort of follows this idea. But also I did some research, and despite the fact that there are several sources that apparently inspired Bram Stoker's idea of what a vampire should be like, there's also among them the actor Henry Irving. He and Stoker worked together, and Irving's mannerisms were translated into the famous literary Count. The other and final inspiration that I'd like to mention is a book called The Vampire by John Polidori. I like to talk about this for two things which I find interesting. The first one is that Polidori initially came up with his story in the summer of 1816 while he was spending a holiday in Switzerland with the controversial Lord Byron, with the poet Percy Shelley, and with the latter's wife Mary Shelley, who came up with her idea for the book Frankenstein around this exact time as well. So in a way I think it's really cool how Frankenstein and Dracula, such famous gothic legends, were sort of invented in this very similar circumstances. And there's also another thing that I would like to mention regarding the movie Mary Shelley. In it there is a scene between Polidori and Mary, and they're speaking about their works. And Polidori tells Mary something like, "It's ironic, isn't it? I write a story lampooning Byron, the blood-sucking devourer of souls, and he gets all the credit. While you wrote about a desperately lonely and abandoned creature, abandoned by an irresponsible narcissist, and Shelley gets all the credit. We have created monsters, Mary, but let's not let them devour us." And I find this such a poignant scene for many reasons, but the one I particularly wanted to point out here is that if Bram Stoker was inspired to write Dracula because of Polidori's work, and Polidori based his vampire on Lord Byron, then Dracula could sort of fall under the category of Byronic heroes. And for anyone who doesn't know, Byronic heroes are basically the bad boys of classic literature. There are those male characters like Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, Mr. Rochester from Jane Eyre, Eric from The Phantom of the Opera, who live outside the rules of society, following only their own laws, who serve as romantic leads, who have troubled pasts and very tormented souls. Growing up, I knew of Dracula from episodes of Scooby-Doo, for example, but I was never really into scary stuff as a kid, so I didn't really know that much of him, except from the general cultural idea we have of him. That all changed, though, when I was in my early teens, because of the enormous crush I had on Gary Oldman. And since he plays a famous vampire in the 1982 version, I saw it and I really enjoyed it. Not only because it started my crush, but because I love period dramas, and it was really romantic. But since by that time I had already started falling in love with classic literature, I bought the book, and over the years I've reread it around 3 times. I recall, though, that the first 2, whenever I started reading it, I would go downstairs to my living room around midnight and read the first chapters with a single light to get into the atmosphere and the vibe of the story. And talking about the early bits of the book, I just love the scenery it evokes. I would really like to visit Romania one day and see the castles, the mountains, the valleys, the rivers the novel describes. Also, over the years I've seen several of its adaptations, whether it's the 1922 version called Nosferatu, the 1958 version with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, Dracula 2000 with Gerard Butler and Justine Waddell, or Dracula Untold with Luke Evans and Dominic Cooper. The one that I love second best, though, is a parody called Dracula Dead on Loving It. It's from 1995 and it stars Mel Brooks and Leslie Nielsen. I don't usually like parodies of classics, but I saw this one with my best friend from childhood and we both found it really funny, and over the years it hasn't lost any of its charm. For the moment, though, I believe that this is all I have to say about Dracula. Thank you very much for watching my review of it. I keep keeping my fingers crossed that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you did or if you didn't so we can talk about it. It'd be really cool if you told me what are your own thoughts of this classic tale. In the description box below you can find a link to the Goodreads page for the novel, as well as a link to the IMDB page for the 1982 movie. Anyways, I'm Carol Herrera, the Mental Traveler, and I will be seeing you soon. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Take care and goodbye.